Hi all, it's PJ and welcome to Bernina Quick Tips. This quick tip is on pinpoint placement, both grid point positioning and free point positioning. For this demo, I'm just going to stitch the basting border so that you can see how the process works instead of actually stitching all of the designs. But this should provide you enough information to be able to do the project. I have stitched my first basting border and we're just going to pretend that the entire design has been stitched. I'm going to go ahead and unhoop and then move the project to the left. The next section is going to go to the right. I should also mention that I have stabilized the entire length of goods here. I've got my fabric rehooped. I've got that first basting border on the left side of my hoop. For these first two designs, I can use the grid point positioning because basically they're rectangles. So when I bring this up, if I go in here to my placement, here my points are at the very edges of the design, which is in this case, I need to align this point and this point to this point and the top point up there. The next time that we hoop up, we'll be doing free point placement because this grid is wider than the point I need to match. It'll make sense in a second here when we get to the next one. But in this case, I'm still going to use the grid point positioning. So the first point I need to match is I'm going to go up here to the top. And then I'm going to move my needle to match this point. And I'm using my knobs, and I have to roll my needle down to see how close I am. And I will tell you on the new version, the 790 Pro, there's a laser, so there's no more rolling this down. It will be quite nice, because you keep getting that lovely little message if your needle's not in the right position when you try to move. Okay, I'm right on there, so I'm going to say set to that first one. I've got my yellow around, and now I'm going to come down here to the bottom one and align this point. And in this case, I need to swing it that way, so I'm using my top knob to just move it into place. And it's pivoting off of this. And that's pretty dang close. You have a little bit of wiggle room between these designs because of this top stitching. But the closer you can get it, the better off you'll be. I'm about a stitch long here, but I'm going to call that good. I need to roll this back up to the right spot. Then I'm just going to stitch this basting border to make sure that my placement is correct. So I am going to go out of here, go into here. I'm skipping that first color because that is just the number, and I really just want the basting border. So I'm just going to stitch this. And this will show us how close or how far we are. Okay, you would stitch the rest of your design. I'm just going to go on to the next hooping so that you can see how the free point placement works. I'm going to kind of pull this up to the camera so that you can see a little bit better. So I'm a little bit off here, and I'm a little bit low and a little bit wide. But up here, you can also see that I started a little bit low. I was trying to get my head not right in front of the camera, so I didn't maybe have the best view. But you can see how that would work. In this particular design, honestly and truly, I think you'd probably be okay if you were off just that little bit. But you could also just pull out that basting stitch and completely reposition it, which is what's kind of nice about using that system with basting stitches, because you could just take it out and start all over again. Okay, I'm gonna unhoop, I'm gonna press this, and I'm gonna move this down So this time when we position, I'm going to use the free point because the grid point positioning is going to give me the corner of the design, which is going to be way out here, but I need to match up to this point. I've got my fabric rehooped and I have my 3 design pulled up. I'm going to go back into my grid point positioning. Here's what I was talking about before. I really need to line this up to this point and this point, but those are not my options here. So here's where I'm going to use the free point placement. When I choose this, I get to choose which points I want to align. So in this case, I want this point to align here and that top point to align back there. So I'm just going to tap on my screen and I'm going to get a little indicator. And you can zoom in, it might help. Basically, I want this at the very edge, right there. So now what I need to do, now that I've got that, I need to move my position to here. So I'm going to move this down just a little bit and over. See if I can get this placed better this time. Oh, I'm a little too far to the right. Okay, that looks good at this point. So here's my point, here's my point. I'm going to say set to that. So I'm going to go back out and now I'm going to choose my second point, which is down here. And I want that just to be at the corner. You're better off to hit just below it than to try to get right on it because it will snap to the nearest corner or the nearest stitch. And in this case, it's the corner. So here's my corner. So I want to move to my left. And I think we're going to just make it into the hoop. Oh, that was a pretty good guess. Okay, so that's all good. So now, and you can see here on the screen, well, if I go out, you can really see how tilted that is, but it should line up to this. So now I can simply go into sewing. Once again, skip that first color, and now I'm just going to stitch my basting border and see how well I aligned that. That is pretty dead on. I'm maybe a half a stitch off there. Let's go hoop up for the last one. And again, you would be stitching all the way through your design before you do this. I just wanted to kind of make this relatively quick to show you how the process would work. So here's a close-up of this one, and you can see. So once again, I'm maybe half a stitch off here, but really, that's going to be perfectly fine. Let's hoop up for the last section. This is just kind of a little side note, and this has nothing to do with the free point or pinpoint placement. Where my hoop stopped the last time, I really can't get in here to attach this because it's sitting so close. If you just go into your hoop icon over here, if you choose the park, it will take it all the way out. And then just go back in to your ready to sew, which will then bring the carriage back in. So you can then get your hoop on. And then you can go back into your edit and go on with your positioning. So I have my last one hooped up here. And once again, if you kind of look at this design, well, I'll just show you. If we go in here and we go to the grid point, it's actually going all the way to the ends. If I take that off, you can see these kind of tail in just a little bit. It's the shortest section that we're wanting to line up with here. So once again, the grid point is not going to work. We're going to need to use the free point. And this process is going to be exactly like it was last time. So we've got our free point placement chosen. we are going to go into here, and maybe I will zoom in just a little bit. So the point that's right here is what we want. Right there, which is perfect, which is this point right here. So once again, I'm just going to move this up just a little bit and then over to the left. Oh, I guess I maybe didn't need to move it up. Oh, that was a pretty good guess. Okay, so that one is where it's supposed to be at the skinnier part. And I'm going to say set to that. And it's yellow, which you can barely see right there. It's yellow. So now I'm going to go up. Okay, so that is at the corner. It's the widest point before that little angle. And so once again, I need to align it to this point. And I just need to swing a little bit this way. Whoops. To right there. Okay, so that's ready to stitch. I'm just gonna close this menu, go into stitching, skip the first color, stitch my basting border. Once again, once you knew that your placement was correct, you would just continue stitching the rest of your design. So there's the final section. I think that was actually the best one of all. See, practice makes perfect. I'm gonna unhoop this and just kind of lay this out so that you can get an idea. So those are just the basting borders, but that's how you would use the grid point positioning and the free point positioning to do multiple hooping designs. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time. Thanks. If you'd like to follow along, this project is available for purchase at the Montevilla Sewing Center's Teachable site. The project includes the full video, written instructions, design files, and more. You can purchase the projects by the month or join the club and save. To join the club, contact the main store. If you'd like to view the video preview for this project, go to my YouTube channel, A PJ Project, go to the playlist and choose the Machine Embroidery Club, and then choose the project.